properly trained. It's true, we should. But it's difficult to find that time. And we have so many different jobs that, when you train a housekeeper, how do we train a housekeeper? Pretty simple. Go in the unit, clean it, and don't miss a thing. Is there anything else more to that? I mean, go in the unit. Don't use the same rag for everything. How many people saw that Undercover Boss thing with KOA? The guy was cleaning the bathroom with the same rag he was doing the toilet, doing the kitchen sink, doing it was embarrassing to have watched that show, okay? But, we have a lot of chemicals, we have a lot of rags, we got a lot of paper towels, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I always tell people, there's two smells that women like, Clorox and Pine Sol. When they walk in a unit, I've even gone to the point, say, when you're done cleaning the bathroom, take that spray and just spray the base of the toilet so that the unit smells like Clorox, okay? Now, that's going to go away after a while, but if you're cleaning your bathrooms enough, you might be in there every 30, 40 an hour, so that smell will linger. But, so anyway, let's get into, I got some good notes here. So, in the beginning of the season, you usually have a meeting, get everybody together, and, there's some people who are extroverts, and there's some people who are introverts. And, or if it's your first job and you're 15 years old and you come walking into a campground, you're already uptight. And chances are you're 15, you don't know anything. Am I right or wrong? You don't even know how to clean because you didn't do it at home. You didn't make your bed, you didn't do the laundry, you didn't clean the bathroom for sure. And, we've hired people and asked them to, let's go down and clean the bathroom. We take them down there and we show them, and they go, ooh, somebody was in here. I'm like, really? And I can tell you some real stories about dirty, which, and they're going to see that. But anyway, I don't know what their idea of clean is. But anyway, we get together and we want to talk about, make it fun. If you don't have fun at work, it's a job. Jobs usually suck. Am I right? If you're not having a good time, the hours drag by. They don't fly by, they drag by. So, anyway, this class is about use icebreakers to create a more relaxed environment. Do not introduce any icebreaker games that will make others uncomfortable. Do we like to have events where it shows how stupid you are? So you don't want to have an icebreaker where you're trying to find out who's the smartest person in the room and who's the dumbest person in the room. You'll find that out within a week or so on your own. Am I right? It's going to happen. But in that room, nobody knows each other. And so we want to try to do things that are interesting. You got a piece of paper. I'd like you to take a piece of paper, and everybody in this room has an ego. Now that ego could go from a dot on a piece of paper to a circle the size of this piece of paper. I would like you all to put a circle on this piece of paper, put your name on it, and describe the size of your ego. So if you would all do that. And then I'd like somebody to go pick them all up. Ego. No, ego, Like I don't have an ego at all. I'm a dot, So if you would do that, and be truthful, a circle. Then put your name on there and show me how big your ego is. My young man assistant here, he'll be collecting them. right, everybody, we got them all now?
Put your name on it, describe it, however you want to do it.
Uh-huh. That's true, too. Okay, we got all the egos here. This exercise, I took a class in Madison about 7 years ago, and it was about time management. And this was the first exercise that we had to do when we started the class. And you'll see my point here in a minute. Okay. So, now that we have everybody's ego, we're all neutral now, right? We should all be neutral. You gave me your egos. You should be like empty, right? So here's the egos. And here's the round file. Okay? Now that we understand each other, nobody here has an ego. Okay? We all know that everybody comes to the table with something. You know, some of us are, more boisterous than others. Some of us are shy and inhibited and, where was I? I went to Hardee's the other day. Went up to order a hamburger, and the guy gets on his feet. Cheeseburger. Now, how the hell that kitchen could ever hear him? And he's sitting there taking money. Remember that guy? I mean, it's like, how could he have a job here? Why is he so meek? Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger. What do we want in our campground? We want people that can be heard. Hey, that costs $2. It's $2. Hey, that's like $2. No, it's not going to work. So nobody here has an ego, so let's move forward. I'm on a trip. I'm going on a trip. I want you to take your second piece of paper. And of this list here, tell me what you think you should pack if you're going to go on a camping trip. Now keep in mind you work in a campground, right? And your customer is a camper. Now your customer could have a list similar to this, but obviously you're not going to pack everything. And yet I've seen campers show up at the campground with a car and a trailer load of stuff. And you're like, what is going on here? You're only here for 2 days, So you as an employee would have to have a little empathy with what is it these campers are doing here in our park. And, I can understand why somebody might have a koala bear. Now, is that a stuffed one or a real one? See, we don't know. Okay, but we would assume it's probably a stuffed one, all right? A ball of string would be something that people might have, or it might be a little heavier. We might call it a clothesline, okay? Don't know. A portrait of a family member? Depends. If you're 75 years old and your husband passed away 10 years ago, you might have a picture. Maybe not. A copy of a best-selling book from Japan. If you were Japanese, you might, but maybe not. How many people have seen the Japanese Vacation? What do they always carry? A camera. Is that like stereotyped? Truly, when you go places, I don't care if it's on a cruise boat, Disney World, or in your campground. They always got a camera on them, So, we'll go around real room. What would be your number one item that you would bring camping? Money. Oh, okay, now let me ask you, what kind of money? What does it look like? Reality. Credit card. So does your campground have a credit card machine? Does everybody know how to use it? Do they know the difference between credit and a debit? If you don't have a credit card and cash, what else would you might want to have in your office? ATM machine. Does everybody know how to use it? Do your employees know how it's done? Do they know how much does it cost? If you go to Quick Trip, they say free. No, it's the free, the part that they get. But the part that the bank gets is still $1 or 50 cents or something. So you got to read the fine print. Yeah, they're not taking the profit out of it, but your employees should know this, okay? But they, so there again, do your people know how to run a credit card machine? Do they know the difference between a credit and a debit card machine? Okay, what would you bring on a trip? Food. Now, I own a campground. How much food do I want you to bring? None. So it's like, okay, so what do we serve? An employee, what do we serve? We got hamburgers, hot dogs, brats. One day we had a person literally call on the phone and said, how many brats can you put on the grill? And the girl answering the phone had to put them on hold and laugh because they couldn't believe that anybody would ask that question. But, it's no different than a simple question like, Don, what size trailer can I put on yellow 11? You see, you're thinking too long. You see, if you're going to have people, that's a seasonal site. So he says, oh yeah. But you see, when you have employees there, they don't understand that they're the face of your company, right? And so when somebody asks a question like, well, I got this trailer, well, what's it look like? Well, it's 32 foot. Okay, does it have a slide out? Yeah. How big is the vehicle you're pulling it with? And then you say, well, I got 5 empty sites. Well, you're supposed to know if that 32-foot trailer will actually fit on that site. Because the worst thing that can happen is you put them somewhere, they show up, and it won't fit. And then you go and you look and say, who took that reservation? Oh, what are you, a moron? You know what I mean? So because you didn't train that person and you didn't, they're doing their best, but they have to, if you're in this business, you have to know your park. And you can't have people answering the phone and talking to people if they don't know the park. Now, I always say, what's the easiest way for an employee to learn your park?
Make them walk it. Do every job and walk it.
There you go. Not just walk it. Sometimes it's here, here's a rake. Go rake those 10 sites. Okay, you done with those 10 sites? Okay, now go over here and change all the garbage cans out, And after a while, they get it. Or the best way, you know how to run the pump truck? They got to find the trailers. After a while, they know the layout. They get it, okay? But it's so important that your people know your facility, and just telling them to walk it, that's kind of the easy way, because tomorrow I say, okay, where's site 7? I don't know, I forgot. Well, then you're fired, because you can't forget. You didn't learn it right the first time. So you got to make sure that they're out and about. And we can't fire them. Why can't we fire them? Because you can't find anybody else. Is that the truth? Let's talk about the truth. Let's not talk about fairy tale, last year we put out ads and that. We had 13 people apply for a job at Smoky Hollow Campground. We hired all of them because there were no others. And out of the 13 we hired, none of them were 16. They were all younger than that, so they didn't even have a driver's license. Now, it turned out some of them were awesome, okay? Mom and Dad dropped them off in that first job, and they turned out to be great. Guess what? They're all going to have a car this year. So now we're going to be like, it's going to be great, okay? But, if we don't want to take the time to be nice, we can't be too nice. I've been accused of not being nice at all because I have a problem with stupid. Anybody knows me knows that I've been talking about stupid my whole life, okay? And I I just have a hard time with it. And yet, we know that every year that goes on, we have to lower the bar and try to teach them how to get higher in life, you know. Believe it or not, one of my favorite jobs, I have a favorite job. I'm going to ask Don, what is my favorite job in the park on Sunday morning?
This is gonna be hard to believe. He likes to stand at the dump station and empty people's RVs as they're leaving the park.
That's what,
He does.
yep. You know, one of my peeves is when you go to you see a dump station and you see people, you know, they park their unit, they get out, they shuffle back to the tray, you know, trying to get their hose, got to put on the gloves, right? Well, now they've just eaten up about 4 minutes. What about the 10 trailers that are behind them looking at this idiot taking so much time to do this, you know? So I just found that, you know what? It's not that terrible job. I got a pillow to kneel on. I kneel next to the dumpster. I have my own hose, okay? And come on up, stop. And the second they say stop, I got the cap off, got the hose on, pulled both levers, and they're just now getting out of the truck. All right? And then, man, this is really great service. Yeah, you must be the owner. That'd be the only way you'd ever touch all that. I said, that's not so bad. Stuff all washes off, you know. So you're down there and say, hey, well, how was your trip? Oh, great, you know. Do me a favor. It was so great. Can you go on TripAdvisor and tell everybody how wonderful it was? You know, because that's the world we live in. You know, it doesn't matter what you tell me. You got to tell the world. There again, you go back to your employees and say, guys, I'm telling you, every time you screw up, someone's going to tell somebody about it. And it's not going to be on property. It's going to be on the internet, okay? And, you know, it's hard to combat that. So it's important that you have a good attitude, you smile, do your job well. And you know what? If you don't know the answer to something, what do you tell them? The truth. I don't know the answer, and I'll find out. Don't make it up. Don't try to cover your butt, because you're going to get caught, okay? So, okay, what was your number one item that you would bring? That would be you, Miss Camouflage. Of this list up here, what would you bring? PC projector? You don't know what you'd bring? You'd bring money, right? You'd bring food? You're camping? Bring a tent? Would you bring the stakes? The ones that hold the tent down? No? Okay. But you can see everybody has a different idea what they should bring. And we can laugh about a lot of things. I've seen a lot of stuff come out of cars. You know, little story. You know, we used to have a lot of tent sites. We still have tent sites, but we don't call them tent sites anymore. We just call them sites. Because all of our sites have electric and water on them, all. Because we found that when we had a primitive site or a tent site by definition generally has no utilities. So you're parked out somewhere, you got to walk for electric, etc. The units were never full. Why? Why weren't they full? Why weren't they full? They got to charge their cell phones. They got to plug their box fan in. They got to plug their electric skillet in. They have rope lights now. They don't have Coleman lanterns. They don't have propane. I mean, I don't think I've sold a gallon of white gas in 5 years. And you know what a mantle is? Most people don't know what a mantle is. Right. So, you know, you sit here and you say, we have to adapt to our customer base, right? And if we don't adapt, it's going to bite us later. So, now, the 4 C's. Have your participants name one of each of the following best describes their personality. So, on a piece of paper, what cartoon character are you? Yogi Bear, Heckle and Jekyll, Bullwinkle. Remember those guys? You had to be my age to know those guys. Can they what? Yeah. Emoji, favorite color, what's your car look like, what's your favorite food? Now you see, when we have that kind of information about people, we can draw conclusions, you know. I like I like the old cartoons. Remember Heckle and Jekyll and Huckleberry Hound and Quick Draw McGraw and Popeye, you know. Now you go Yogi Bear. Now you go and, yeah, there are Yogi Bear campgrounds. But there's a lot of kids that don't know who Yogi Bear is. Okay? I don't know. What are the names of the biggest cartoons today? Incredibles? I thought you ate those. Don't they have candy things called the Incredibles or whatever? But you know, you got Frozen out there and all these Disney things, which are a hot item. And those people who follow. How many went to the holiday wholesale show last week? Did you see all the candy that was, what do they call that term? Licensed? Licensed candy. So you had frozen candy, you had all these different things. They're doing that for a reason, because kids respond to that kind of stuff. Again, do your employees, when you buy merchandise, do they understand what some of that stuff is when they're looking at it on a shelf? I mean, fine, you can't own a campground without Hershey bars. Why? S'mores. If you took s'mores out of the equation, would they buy them? Nope. Probably not. Because when it's 90 degrees out, chocolate is in the cellar. But if you're making a s'more, it doesn't matter. So you got to have chocolate, marshmallows, and graham crackers. Those three things you got to have. Now, those that go a little bit farther, again, when you ask a teenager, what's the importance of that? Well, what are you going to cook the s'more with? Where's the sticks? Now, when I was a kid, we had no money. So our stick was you grabbed a hanger out of the closet and you bent it out. But who has a hanger made out of metal anymore? You can't find one, right? But that you use that. Or you did go to a lilac tree or something and whacked off a bush and you made, but in a campground, anything that's loose has already been burnt, right? So you got to have sticks. So, you know, but do your employees understand the merchandise that you have is here for a reason? Okay? It's just like, hey, I got a headache. Well, where is the Advil? Where is the Tylenol? Where is the cold syrup? Do they know where that stuff is? Some people don't learn that. They learn how to. When you hired somebody, did you ask them if they could make change? And they all say yes. But you know what their definition of making change is? The button on the cash register that says change. And it tells you how much change you're supposed to give. You don't have to think. That's what their idea of making change is. Okay. What was your cartoon character? You.
I did Underdog.
Underdog.
There's a crisis.
Underdog. What was your cartoon character? Pooh Bear. How about yours? Polly. Underdog, his girlfriend. God, I forgot all about her. How about you? Who? Cat Dog. Guess I've never seen that one. And you, young lady? Donald Duck. That was Donald Duck's still big. I grew up with the Disney Channel, you know, at 4 p.m, you know, after Marlon Perkins, what was that show? Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Yep. What was your cartoon? Squidward. Paul, what was your cartoon character? Fred Flintstone. Okay, favorite color, Joyce?
Mine's green.
Green. Is that the color of money or grass?
Green for money.
Okay. What's your favorite color? Blue. Dark blue, midnight blue, cobalt blue, medium blue. Your favorite color? Green. Your favorite color? Black. How about Scott? I'm going to pick on you. Blue. Okay, cars. Anybody here got a Volkswagen? You want one, right? You want one? So what would be your favorite car right now? A red Mustang. What year? 67? 289? And how about you? What's your favorite car?
Well, when I was about 17, 18, it was a Z28.
A Z28. Those were the muscle cars of the day, weren't they? How about you? A convertible? That wouldn't work today. Yeah. Okay, so you see there's a menagerie of needs, and your employees are going to be all over the board with that. What happens when you tell your employee they got to leave their cell phone in the car? They almost want to die, right? And it's like, it's like, what do you need a cell phone when you're selling candy bars for? If I need to get a hold of you, I'll just come out and see you. Your mommy doesn't need to get a hold of you at all. She can call the office and we'll find you. Remember those days when you didn't have a phone and you might have had a pager or you had a credit card so you could use a pay phone for emergencies, okay? But, they were talking about, I was watching a news broadcast yesterday, and they were saying that perhaps in 10 years, a cell phone will be considered the same as tobacco. Because it's gotten to the point where nobody can do anything without looking at a phone. There was another study that said if you left your house without your wallet or your cell phone, which one would you go back for? And it wasn't your wallet, okay? That phone was more important than anything else. And so, I know for us, it's a policy to leave your cell phone in your car. Now, some of us have parks that they use cell phones as a means of communication amongst their employees. See, now that's a doable thing. But when you have a park that doesn't have cell service, I guess it's not necessary. But again, it's funny, the employee, when you're around, may not be playing with the phone. But isn't it amazing when you're not around? I mean, the phone's out instantly. It just is. Okay, so obviously here, this is just, so if we had taken a piece of paper and wrote all this down, and then we threw them in a pile, I guess the trick would be, and we got too big a group and too big a room, would be, okay, let's pick out this piece of paper and try to match what was on that paper with the people who were sitting around the table. You think you'd be able to do that in a smaller group? Say, well, yeah, I think that person might. Okay, that person might do it. So, that's another like mixing game. Okay, snowball battle. In the snowball battle, there again, we would write things down on another piece of paper. We're not going to do that here today. But you would write things about yourself without your name, put it in a snowball, throw it around the room, and then pick up a snowball, open it up, and then you have to read what's on it and then figure out who in that room matches that stuff. Again, this is how you get people to, at Waco, we talk about the board of directors, and there's 12 of us. We're supposed to sit at a different table every time we sit down because you folks are members, and we think that you should be communicating with the board, and there should be a one-on-one and a comfort level. Are we really good at that? We try to be, but we still end up with our wives, our employees, are best friends, and you guys do it too. All you got to do is look around the room and see who you're sitting with, and then, and I look at it. Well, who are they sitting with for lunch? Same people they had for breakfast, same people they had for dinner. These kinds of functions really are designed to network, because the most you're going to get out of any organization, including your own campground, is that networking with each other. And the best training in a campground is to share amongst your employees. Because at the end of the day, you want all of your employees to do every job, from cleaning the toilets to pump outs to selling candy bars. And some people, hey, add up all them time cards and fill them out. I mean, everybody should be able to do that. In our parks, we train people to fill LP tanks. The girls can fill LP tanks. It's not a hard job. But I've been in campgrounds. Oh, maintenance. Can you come up and do the, fill it? Why? It's just another layer. And layers cost money. Anybody here have a payroll? I always tell people the biggest stress point in the world is when you have to make a payroll on Friday. Because sometimes you don't have it. And so you have to find it. And you might find it in your own personal checkbook. You might have a line of credit. You might put it on a credit card of your own, to cover those checks on Friday. But, I've been in locations where they hand you a check and say, don't cash it till next Wednesday. That doesn't go, you might get away with it a couple times, but not very long, because they're going to be looking for someone who has that check there every Friday, So it's something you really don't want to do. They'll work, but I guarantee you, I have people who, we hand out checks Friday after 3 o'clock. We've had people call, can I come up and get John's check at 9 in the morning? And, I'm sorry, but you don't tell me when I'm handing out the checks. I hand out the checks after 3 o'clock, Now, some people have the automatic, it's just put in your bank account. But those only go out at a certain time, too. You don't call them out and say, hey, send it to me a day early or something, But everybody has to know their parameters. So anyway, this snowball battle is all about that. Write 3 things about yourself, then crumble the paper, 1 minute snowball fight. At the end of the minute, everyone grabs one and tries to find the person who wrote it. Then introduce to the people to the rest of the people. Quick and easy customer service. We want to be amazing. How do we do that? Simply just be better than the average. No, actually be better than the average all the time. That's really hard. All of us can, believe it or not, we all want to open in April, first part of May. We're kind of excited, ready to go. We got ideas in that. What's our attitude on the 7th of July? We got 45 more days and we're going to be out of here, right? And you hit Labor Day, you're like, why can't we close the middle of September? Why do we have to be here till October 15th? And you know why that is? It's because we're starting to wear ourselves out. Our customers are not getting better every day. They're not. I'm just being honest with you. A customer 30 years ago was a lot nicer to you than they are today, okay? We've heard about the me movement or whatever that means, but it is all about everything's for me, and if everything isn't perfect, what can I get? They find a mouse turd in a drawer, okay? Now, that unit was cleaned yesterday. Does that mean the mouse turd didn't get clean? Or did the mouse just happen to come back that night and went through that drawer? Is it an outdoor problem? Are we camping? Are we in an outdoor environment? Was that mouse here first? Probably, okay? Is his family underneath your unit? Probably, Is the cousin in the next unit over? Probably, okay? So, you find a little mouse turd, the next thing you know is Well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I can clean it up. Well, that's not good enough. Well, what do you want? Well, I think I should get a free night, you know. So you want to sleep here with the mouse. You know, I mean, but they'll ask you for that. I don't care what it is, you know. If you make the eggs too runny, what are you going to do? Give them the whole breakfast for free? I'll recook the eggs. That might not be good enough. So you see, your employees have to understand that it's going to be a job dealing face to face with your people, and there's only so much your employee can do. When it gets out of control, they have to see you, the owner. It's got to get shifted, you know. I personally don't have a problem when somebody's going too far as saying, hey, I can't help you, why don't you leave? I'll take the chance that they write something on TripAdvisor. The good thing is I got 1,000 A's and maybe 6 D's or F's. I think I can prove my point that I'm the good guy and somebody's being unreasonable, okay? But I can only take so much, all right? Your employees can't make that decision. They can just say, hey, I'm sorry, but you need to see the owner, and just leave it at that. The bus driver story. I'm going to read you something here, and then I want you to answer my question. Okay, this is a exercise in listening. And we only, you know, you've heard of, you only have selective hearing. Have you ever heard that? I know I have it sometimes. Try not to. So, I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So, when I get done, you know, if you listen to the story carefully, you'll have the answer. If you just kind of heard what you wanted to hear, you're going to have all kinds of weird answers, and they're all going to be wrong. Okay? You are the bus driver on the number 10 bus. At the first stop, 29 people get on. On the second stop, 6 of those 29 people get off. At the same time, 10 new passengers arrive. At the third stop, 8 passengers get off. The bus is running a little early. So during the 3-minute wait, 14 people and a dog get on. At the fourth stop, 12 passengers get off, and 2 passengers get on. At the fifth stop, everyone gets off. How old is the bus driver? Yes, ma'am. So you understand, you're the bus driver. But you see, I got you thinking about all these numbers and all these stops, and you're trying to follow. I mean, when I looked at this for the first time today, I got a piece of paper because in school we used to say train left at 2 o'clock. It's doing 60 miles an hour. When is it going to arrive on plan B? You know, and I'm trying to think of all that, and this thing is real simple. I'm the bus driver, so how old am I? But the whole time I read this paragraph, my mind was somewhere else. And that happens a lot in your campground when somebody's got a complaint or something, especially when they're bothering you, like you're in the middle of a sewer pipe that's in the ground and they want to have a conversation, or they just drove over a water line and they want to have a conversation. And it's like, buddy, can't you see I'm busy? But you see, they got a problem and they want you to solve it. Sometimes your employees can deal with it, and sometimes they can't. But they have to be educated as to what, you know, is acceptable behavior. So, you know, that's a listening exercise. And then the next slide is let me tell you what I can do for you. You know, sometimes you're listening, you listen to a complaint. They want you to solve it. But you have to figure out exactly what is the problem. You know, sometimes they tell you what they want, and now it comes back to you. Let me tell you what I can do for you. A lot of times I'll say, listen, What will it take for you to be happy today? What can I do right now? What will it take? Well, if you're lucky, they'll just say, well, if you can just take care of this, then I'm on it. Now, when you say you're on it, that means you're on it. If you say, yeah, we'll come down and see you in a little bit, and then you get sidetracked, and 3 hours later, the person's back in the office saying, hey, I thought somebody was going to come down and take care of it. Now they're even more pissed off, okay? So when you make a commitment, it's pretty important that you actually get on it. Trust me, if you get on it, it's like, I think one of the number one things that comes up in campgrounds is my power doesn't work in the plug. And it's a GFI. And it's a Friday night or Saturday morning or whatever. And we all know what that means. You get a new GFI, you go down there, you open it up, takes about 5 to 10 minutes and you're done. You open it up, it's full of ants or whatever the hell's in there, clean it out, boom. They're happy as long as you're down there right now. When you come down right away, man, that was fast. Oh, you guys are good. But or you go down there with a 30 amp adapter. You know what a 30 amp adapter looks like? You plug the 30 amp adapter in there and then you plug their cord into that. And now, you see, they got power. All they want is power, okay? So as fast as you can deal with it. Now, the next thing is, the GFI doesn't work. Did you write it down? Your employees are terrible about writing things down. Did you write it down so I can read it? Because your penmanship is lousy. Did you put your name on it so I know who to talk to if I have a problem? Did you put time and date? Pretty reasonable requests. But, if they write it down and they don't give it to the manager or me or whomever, how do you expect it to get done? We all have, I know our to-do list. How many lines are there on a regular pad of paper? Anybody know? 33. 33 lines. That's 33 projects. If you got 2 pages, that's 66 projects, okay? And now someone's got a GFI that doesn't work, and it has to go to the top. Not the bottom, which might be 3 days from now, okay? But it has to be done because somebody else is going to check in on that site later, and you're going to have the same problem again. So why have it, okay? So it's important that your people know that if you don't know, you can't fix it. If you do know and you don't get it done, you deserve all the hate mail that you can get. Yes, ma'am. What she's saying is textbook. You get it done. Now, if you come back and say, hey, just checking to make everything going, is there anything else I can do for you? It's called touching flesh. It's also called smooing, and it's whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, those touch points make you the good guy, because when people decide to come to your campground, the number one reason is how they were treated and who owns the place. They can tell if the managers care and, if they become your friend, you got them for life, guys. But when they don't care, as soon as they see a new jewel hanging out there, another campground, hey, let's check it out. And you might lose them. I don't know exactly what this slide means, but I'm going to guess. The alphabet has 26 letters, A to Z. That means you do everything. You don't forget anything. You don't. Do I have to leave? Oh, okay. But that's what A to Z. Do everything A to Z. Don't forget anything. That's all I think that slide means. Game of possibilities. What we see on the left is usually everybody's in the same boat. Oh, you got a handout? Where'd you get that? I didn't get that handout.
Best practice
Okay,
customer
you read it.
service. This is an easy activity that gets your team thinking about which values, attributes, and behaviors make great customer service. Prepare by drawing up the alphabet in columns on a flip chart or whiteboard, white spaces next to each letter to write a word or a short phrase. Give your team pens and ask them to think of one positive customer service value, attribute, or behavior, beginning with every letter of the alphabet. For example, A might be accountability, B could be building rapport. Ask them to do this for each letter of the alphabet, writing the words on the board next to their letters. If they get stuck on a letter like X or Z, tell them they can use words containing X or Z instead.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Oh. You know, you make an interview too hard, you won't have any employees. You know, last year, one thing we found, we had such a hard time. We went to a lot, you know, there's Monster.com, ZipRecruiter, you name all those different things. And a friend of ours is an HR person in a company, and she told us straight out, we usually always started with, guys, call us, we'll send you an application. Worst thing you can do. Too much work. You're asking them to fill out a piece of paper before you even see them. She said, no, set an appointment, invite them in, have a chat, no paperwork, just show up, okay? Have a conversation, then hand them the piece of paper. They're there. Hey, I need your name, your address, your phone number. I need all that stuff. And we did that, and we got people to show up. I couldn't believe it. It was too much work. But that's how it used to be. We don't live in that world anymore, guys. We just don't. And, you know, I'm old, so I'm having a hard time. Because I guess when I was younger, there were people looking for jobs. Now they're not even looking, okay? And now we actually spend a lot of time looking at other people's stuff, trying to steal them from somewhere. Called predator employment, you know, and that's happening everywhere. My sister, she works for a Fortune 500 company, but she has been plucked 6 times in 25 years with companies that have stolen her from one company to the next. And, you know, every time they steal, they got to pay a lot of money. But, I mean, she's got a great job, but, you know, the really good guys seems to be up on the top, and they've been plucked from the bottom to get there. So I like this slide here because, you know, it's easy to be in the bowl with everybody else, but those employees are people who think outside the box and look at another possibility and want to jump ship. You know, those are the guys that I'm looking for. You know, I have a habit of, you know what a spiff is? You know, a little extra cash here. You know, when somebody's doing an incredible job, I'm real good at $50 and $100 bills. And I only give it to people who just it's like, my God, you're so awesome today, you know. And then they look at, well, you don't have to do that. I said, yeah, I know, I don't. But when you take care of me, I feel I should take care of you. And I appreciate how hard you work for me. Because you don't have to. Because the rest of those guys aren't, you know. So when you jump ship, I want to make sure that I have you for the next 5 or 6 years until you get married, get a real job, you know. I want you here while you're going to college, etc. I want to be part of your life. I want to have dinner with you. I invite their significant others, their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their husbands, you know. Where else do people treat you that way? Usually in a factory, it doesn't happen. In our town, you can either work for me or you can work at the Lodi canning factory when it's 100 degrees, canning corn, peas, and beans. They pay good, but it's not as much fun, you know. So with that, I think I am out of time. And I'm sorry that I'm not Christine, and I probably didn't do it as well. But good. Thank you.